أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وله الحمد في الآخرة وهو الحكيم الخبير والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث إلى كافة الورى بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته أئمة الهدى ومصابيح الدجى الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما بكم من نعمة فمن الله صلوا على محمد. My respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. It gives me great pleasure to be with you all here at Zainabia Islamic Society, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accepts all of our acts of worship in this holy month of Ramadan, inshaAllah. For tonight's lecture, I would like to try and answer two main questions. The first question is, what is the spirit of Ramadan? And the second question is, how can we embody this spirit? Now, you will notice that I say, how can we embody this spirit? I use the plural here to include myself, because everything that I share with you all applies to me first and foremost, because I also really need to put this into practice. But also what I'd like to do is make sure that, as well as discussing these questions and other things in a theoretical manner, I would also like to put forward some practical suggestions as to how we can implement these things in our lives. So as well as the theory, I will also try and give some practical tips, some practical suggestions, so that we can put the theory into practice. Because I strongly believe that the mimbar and these majalis should not just be used for imparting knowledge and for increasing our iman and the love for the Ahlul Bayt and the teachings of the Quran. Inshallah, these are all absolutely necessary and they must be there and they are so important. But also the mimbar and majalis should also be used for the guidance of us all in a very practical way. That, okay, all of this theory and knowledge that you have spoken about, how can we improve our lives every day in a step-by-step manner? You know, A to Z, or in American English, A to Z. So this is something that I feel very strongly about. We must put together ilm and amal in order to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with regards to this first question that I asked a few moments ago, what is the spirit of Ramadan? And although we are nearly up to the halfway stage of Ramadan, you will see that this discussion applies to us all throughout this holy month of Ramadan. And in fact, now we are approaching the so-called business end of Ramadan, the nights of Qadr, and the last 10 days, which has a special status in our religion. So what is the spirit of Ramadan? Well, a number of answers can be given to this question. For example, some people might say the spirit of Ramadan are the nights of Qadr, or the night of Qadr itself. Others might say that, well, the spirit of Ramadan is actually the Quran itself, because it was revealed in this holy month. That's what gives this holy month its great status first and foremost. Others will say that no, the spirit of Ramadan is the fasting that we do and the spiritual development that we go through, and we try to get close to Allah in this month. And others still, they might say no, it's the du'as that we recite. And of course, perhaps those who find fasting very difficult, they might say that, well, the spirit of Ramadan is none of these. The spirit of Ramadan is iftar time, right? But of course, that's something that we won't go into tonight. But inshallah, all of these answers, not the last one, but the first few answers, they're all correct from a certain perspective. All of these things can be said to be the spirit of Ramadan. But I would like to present to you another way of looking at it. And it is using that famous statement from none other than Nabiyul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When he says in that opening line of his final sermon in Sha'ban, he addresses the people and he tells them about the month that is coming. He says, Ayyuhan nas, O people, innahu qad akbala ilaykum shahrullah. O people, the month of Allah has drawn near to you. And then he says those three qualities, those three characteristics of this holy month. It comes with, he says, bil baraka wal rahma wal maghfirah. He says this holy month that has come to you comes with it three essential characteristics which I term the spirit of Ramadan. It comes with it blessings, mercy and forgiveness. This, I can say, is really a comprehensive description of the essence of Ramadan. Now, in order to look at this in a bit more detail and to see how we can gain this spirit and embody it, embodying meaning we can manifest this spirit in our character, in our lives, we can put it into practice. We can be the human personification of the spirit of Ramadan. So if somebody was to ask, tell me, what does Ramadan look like in its human form? We will be able to say, we are a personification in its human form of the month and the spirit of Ramadan. And I will show inshallah that actually, whatever we do to be the spirit of Ramadan, it will always be at our particular level and according to our capacity. But the highest and the most perfect manifestors, the most perfect demonstrators and human personifiers of the spirit of Ramadan were none other than the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So now, if we look at Ramadan in this light, we see that actually there are a number of things that can really benefit us. Sometimes people, when they think about Ramadan, unfortunately, they have a negative feeling about it. They have some trepidation about it. They even fear it, mainly because of those long fasts that we have to keep. But if we look at it like this, as a month which has a spirit, and we can embody this spirit, and it can benefit us, because we can really embody the blessings, the mercy and the forgiveness of this holy month, then really we would not look at it in any negative light, but we would only look at it in a very positive way. In fact, if we look at how the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam not only greeted this holy month like we just saw a few moments ago, but also how they bid farewell to it, then we will see that they saw it truly as a month of blessing, mercy and forgiveness. So for example, Imam Zainul Abidin salawatullah wasalamu alayhi, in that supplication that we recite from Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah, we recite it at the end of Ramadan when we bid wida and we bid farewell to this holy month. Look how he says goodbye to this month. And in fact, although we normally recite it at the end of the month, I would suggest that we all look at it even tonight, whenever we get time, because it mentions so many great points that when we read these type of du'as, we realize that actually what beautiful month we just had. And if we look at it before we say wida, then inshallah we will appreciate all the blessings, and then we won't feel so regretful afterwards that, oh, I wish I had looked at it like that. I wish I had done that instead. So in this dua of wida, the Imam, when he says farewell to this month, he says, I am filled with distress, saying farewell to you, O month of Ramadan. I am filled with grief, with sadness, with loneliness, and with a sense of deep, heartfelt sorrow. Allahu Akbar. This is how the Ahlul Bayt looked at this month, not in any negative light, but in a truly positive light, because they understood the spirit of this month, and they managed to embody the spirit of this great holy month. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So let's begin with the very first essential quality of the spirit of Ramadan, as taught to us by the Holy Prophet, mentioned in that opening statement in the last sermon of Sha'ban. He says that it comes with it, first of all, bil barakah, with blessings. Now, when we look at this, of course, we know that this month is full of blessings. The Holy Prophet himself describes the month as a month in which we have been invited to the banquet of Allah. Huwa shahrun du'itum fihi ila dhiyafatillah. He says it is a month in which you have been invited to the banquet of Allah. He goes on to say, it is a month in which your breaths are the tasbih of Allah. It's the glorification of Allah. He says that our sleep is worship in this month. Our deeds are accepted and our du'as are answered. It definitely comes with blessings. But my brothers and sisters, like I said, we want to know how can now we embody the spirit of this great month. So how can we embody this particular characteristic of Ramadan, which is barakah, is blessing? Well, in order to do this, we need to therefore become sources of blessings for other people. Just as Ramadan is a source of blessing, like we just saw, for all of us, if we want to embody and manifest the spirit of Ramadan, we should also be a source of blessings for other people. How can we do that? Well, in that verse I recited at the beginning of this lecture, is from Surah Al-Nahl, verse 53. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that all blessings we have are from Him. We do not originate any blessing. They are all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Whatever blessing you have is from Allah. So then, if they do not originate from us and they're all from Him, why don't we therefore share these blessings with people in this holy month more than we do in other times? Because Ramadan, remember, Allah's blessings, His mercy and maghfirah, they are always there throughout the year. But in Ramadan, they are there more. So if we want to embody the spirit of Ramadan, if we want to embody these three qualities in our character, we should also display them more in this month. Just like the month has more of these blessings, we manifest them more in this month, and hopefully it will become a habit so that we can continue manifesting these blessings even after the holy month is over. Then next year we start at a higher level. Again, we manifest them more after the month it continues. The following year we start at even a higher level, so on and so forth. This is how we use this holy month to go and to get closer and closer spiritually to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now, let's have a look at some examples from the Quran. When we talk about blessings, it includes everything. It includes virtues that we possess, the knowledge that we have, skills, experience, even our worldly possessions, our wealth and our money. Let's make it a point, inshallah, to share any of these blessings with people more than we normally do. Let's make it an action point, if you like, for us all in this holy month to do that.
In the Quran, Allah gives us many examples, but there's one in particular I'd like to mention of how a group of people, they were able to share the blessings that Allah had given them. But what makes this example so relevant for us today in this month is that these people were also fasting. And I'm sure you know the example I'm going to mention. It is in Surah Al-Insan, where the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam perform such a great act of sharing their blessings with others that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only described their act in the Quran, but He also made their words the words of the Quran. Wow. In Surah Al-Insan, you all know the story. Basically, in very brief, Imam Hassan alayhi salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam, salawatullah wa salamu alayhima, had become ill. And so the Holy Prophet, when he saw them in this state, he advised the Ahlul Bayt that keep a vow for 3 consecutive days in which you will fast, so that they get better. So, once they get better, now they have to fast for 3 consecutive days in fulfillment of this vow. They do this, but on each evening at the time of iftar. Now, let's recall how we feel near the time of iftar. Okay? A person knocks on their door on each of these 3 nights at the time of iftar and asks for some help, for some food. So now, what did they do? They give their iftar, which was very simple anyway, on the first occasion it was to a needy person. Second occasion it was to an orphan, and on the third occasion it was to a captive, a prisoner. So they give their food and they break their fast simply with water. Allahu Akbar. Look how they were a source of blessings for others. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this in verse number 8 of Surah Al-Insan. He says, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. They give food despite needing it. They give it very freely. To who? Miskinan wa yatiman wa asira. They give it to the needy person, to the orphan, and to the captive. But my brothers and sisters, let me ask you this. When they gave it, did they give it with that intention of getting anything back? Or did they give it simply for the pleasure of Allah? Simply to please Allah? Sometimes when we give, unfortunately, we give it with sometimes a wrong intention, that because this person has some status, he has some position, he will return the favor to us. Or because we know the person, he's a relative, or whatever it might be. But when they gave, look who they gave it to. They didn't know them. They weren't their relatives. They didn't have any position in society. Maybe they would never see them again. They just gave for the sake of Allah. It was such a sincere sharing of their blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like I mentioned, doesn't just stop there. He doesn't just explain what they did. In the next verse, in verse number 9, He says that this momentous act, it is so sincere, it is so brilliant in my eyes, that I am going to make their words not remain as a hadith, not remain as a type of tradition or a narration. I am going to make their words the words of the Quran. In the next verse, what does he say? إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. He says, he quotes the Ahlul Bayt, he says, we give simply for the pleasure of Allah. We give, meaning Allah is quoting their words. And then they say, La nuridu minkum jaza'an wala shukura. We do not want any jaza, any reward, nor any shukur, any thanks. We give purely for the sake of Allah to please Him. This is how great that giving and sharing of the blessing with others was. So my brothers and sisters, let's look at this when we say.
One question.
Yeah.
Surah Insan and Surah Dahr are the same thing?
It's the same, they're the same. It's just different names for the same thing. Yes. So when we look at this and we know that the first blessing as described, the first characteristic of this month as described by the Holy Prophet is barakah, blessing. Let's now inshallah take their example and be a source of blessings for others in this month. Let's make it an action point that whatever blessing we have, whether it's a virtue, knowledge, skills, experience, wealth, material possessions, whatever we can, we will share it with other people more than we normally do outside this month. Inshallah, this will become a habit. Next month, next year, in the month of Ramadan, we will therefore start at a higher position, and this will continue year by year, and we will be able to move spiritually closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallallahu Muhammad wa So this is the first essential quality and characteristic of the spirit of Ramadan. Secondly, the Holy Prophet says it also comes with rahmah and mercy. So let's again ask ourselves, what does mercy look like in its human form? And how can we embody this so that we also become the human personification of the month of Ramadan? Well, again, we don't have to look further than the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. When we talk about mercy, mercy meaning giving to others, compassion and being kind to others, the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam again showed us the greatest personification of this quality. Just a few examples will suffice. First of all, if we look at the blessed life of Imam Sajjad salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. You will recall that after the tragic events of Karbala, about 2 years later in the city of Medina, there was a type of uprising. There was a revolt by the people of Medina. Why? Because they had this deep felt resentment and anger because of what Yazid had done to the grandson of the Holy Prophet and his family. So, because of this, they began to rebel against the Bani Umayyah. Now, when they did this, Marwan ibn al-Hakam, you recall from history who Marwan ibn al-Hakam was. He's an open enemy of the Ahlul Bayt. He's the one who told Walid ibn Utbah to take the oath of allegiance from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And he says to Walid that if Imam Hussein does not give you the oath of allegiance, then kill him. This is Marwan, an open enemy of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So, when these people of Medina began to revolt against Bani Umayyah, Marwan was in danger. The tables had turned now. So what does he do? Because he's fearful of the women of his very large family, he comes to Imam Sajjad and he asks him to protect and to safeguard the women of his household. Just imagine, the open enemy of Islam saying to Imam Sajjad that can you look after the women of my household because I fear the people will do something bad to them. What does Imam Sajjad do? Look at his magnanimity, his merciful character. Does he say, you did this to my family, now see what will happen to your family? Does he say that you will see the revenge that's going to be taken on you? He says that sure, I will look after them. And he does so out of his mercy. This is a manifestation of mercy at its highest level. The rahmah of Allah is displayed in this great character because the women, why should he take revenge on the women? He is not going to do what they did to the family of Rasulullah. So, another example. This was with regards to foes and enemies, but even with friends. The Ahlul Bayt demonstrated their great mercy. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. He had a servant and he sends this servant on an errand. This servant goes, but he takes such a long time that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam begins to worry that what's happened to him. So then he goes to look for him, he finds him. But when he finds him, he sees that this guy is just sleeping. Instead of doing that act that Imam has sent him for, he's taking a nap. Now, let's put ourselves in this position. If we were the line manager of such a person, If we were supervising someone and that person was reportable to us, what would we do in that situation? Most people would be very harsh. They would wake up that person and say, what are you doing? I'm not paying you for this. Look at the mercy of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. What he does is, he sits very gently near the head of this servant. Then he fans air on him so that he can sleep better. This is mercy. This is rahmah of Allah being manifested in a person. But then of course, mercy doesn't mean that we let everything go. If somebody does something wrong, we need to tell them. Otherwise, they will keep on doing it. They will never learn. That is also part of mercy. So, when he wakes up, he tells the servant that, look, what you did was not right. We do not expect you to sleep at night and the day. The night is for you, the day is for us. Now, if we put ourselves in that position, how would we look at our superiors if they treated us like that? We would only increase in our respect for them. We would only increase in our admiration for them. This is mercy in its perfect sense. And of course, the greatest example of all, Rasul al-Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes His merciful character in the Quran. In Ali Imran, verse 159, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. It is because of the mercy of Allah that you are gentle and you are soft with the people. And then he goes on to say, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَظًّا. If you had been hard-hearted, غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ, really with harshness and with a hard heart, لَنْفَضُّ مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. They would have scattered around you. They would have scattered from around you. They would have moved away from you. Now, this, my brothers and sisters, is a brilliant lesson for us in Islamic management, in Islamic leadership. Anyone who has a position of leadership and management should look at this verse. Ali Imran 159. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it is because of the mercy of Allah that you have been gentle with the people. Right? Because we know that the Holy Prophet was able to attract people to him and establish the greatest empire that the world has ever seen. Then Allah says to him, if you had been harsh and hard-hearted with them, they would have scattered, they would have moved away from you. This tells us that if we want to attract people to us, to our religion, if we want them to respect us, to follow us in what we are telling them, we need to exercise mercy. We need to be soft-hearted with them. We need to be gentle with them. Otherwise, we might have all the knowledge in the world. We might have all the experience ever, all the skills. If we are not soft-hearted with people, with our family members, with our colleagues, with those who are under us, those who are above us, we will not be able to manage properly, we will not be able to lead and attract people to us and to our religion. This is a brilliant lesson in Islamic management and leadership. Therefore, Allah says in Surah Al-Anbiya, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent you, O Prophet, except that you are a rahmah, not that you are merciful. Look how Allah words this verse. Not that you are rahim or you are merciful. You are rahmah, meaning you are so much an embodiment of this quality that you are the human personification of mercy in itself. In the same way, my brothers and sisters, okay, our manifestations of mercy will not be lil alameen, for the whole world. We are not at that level. But our manifestations of mercy will be in the small things of life. Will it be in those fleeting moments? Let me give you some examples. Because these small things and these fleeting moments of mercy are still hugely important. So, somebody wants a seat. We are sitting there. It might be at the airport. It might be on public transport. It might be wherever. We give them our seat. This is a manifestation of mercy. But there are two ways of doing that. Either when we see them coming to us, we get up and we signal to them that sit here, or we tell them, take my seat. Or another way of doing it is to get up even before they see us getting up. Even before they come near us, we get up and we pretend that we were going to get up anyway. We act as if we were going to do something anyway. That does not make the person feel embarrassed that you have got up for them. It does not make them feel that you have done them a favor. Why should they know you have done them a favor? It's between you and Allah. That's all that matters. So this is a manifestation, a small thing but very important. Or we're in the supermarket and 4 or 5 people ahead of us, they are being served at the cashier. But it's taking forever because that person, maybe the card doesn't swipe, they can't find the coupons, the child is giving them a hard time, so everybody's waiting. Everybody's getting annoyed. Now, what do we do here? Sometimes people let out that sigh, you know that sigh. That loud sigh, which means, look at that person, taking forever. Here, we as Shia Muslims, as the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, here our manifestation of mercy will be in the form of patience. We'll be just being patient, not getting annoyed. Another example, it might be helping someone with their car. Yes, others can help them, but we should be the first ones to help them. It might be at home, at work, at school, at college. Someone needs our time, our support. Let's make it another action point, my brothers and sisters. Like I said, all of these things apply to me first and foremost. Let's make it a second action point that in this month, we will show extra mercy to people, more than we show normally. We will help people, we'll give them time and support, inshallah. And in fact, I would like to say, it is even more important at this particular time. Why? Unfortunately, some people have hijacked the name of Islam and they have portrayed it as a religion which is merciless. Some people or some groups, because of those unfortunate atrocities, those awful deeds of violence that they have done, whether you must have heard recently in London, in Manchester, even here in California, in San Bernardino, not very long ago, all of these acts of violence and harshness and intolerance, unfortunately, they are grabbing the headlines and they are portraying this image of Islam, which is not the image of the Ahlul Bayt, which is not the image of the Quran, like I've been talking about, like I've been demonstrating. But, my brothers and sisters, when we display these acts of worship, acts of mercy to other people, then that's when they are going to realize that actually Islam is not like that at all. That's just a minority. Real Muslims, the real face of Islam is this person, is that person. They will see that actually these people really have hijacked the name of Islam and are portraying it in a very wrong way. When we show these acts of mercy to people, you know the saying, actions speak louder than words? That's exactly it. Because they are getting tired of us saying that, this is not Islam. This is just a small, radical, extreme group of people who are doing these things. This is not Muslims. Muslims are different. Of course, we have to condemn these acts of terrorism. We have to speak out. But people are beginning to switch off. They are not listening to this rhetoric anymore. Whereas if we display in our actions, in our daily lives with people that this is truly Islam, then our actions, inshallah, will speak louder than words. Sallallahu alaihi Muhammad. And then finally, the Holy Prophet says that the third and final quality and characteristic of the spirit of Ramadan is maghfirah. It is forgiveness. Now, when we look at this and we want to see how can we manifest this in our character, there's one verse in the Quran where Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu alaihi wasallam He describes it as being the most comprehensive verse in the Quran in terms of its coverage. He says no other verse covers more things in the Quran than this one. It's all about the maghfirah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is verse number 53 of Surah Al-Zumar. Look at this verse. This is the best one to look at when we want to talk about maghfirah, especially in this holy month. قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks in this verse in a truly remarkable way. There are about 10 very subtle linguistic points that shows us how much He wants to forgive us. He says, He addresses the Holy Prophet that I say, O ibadi alladhina, my servants. Now, look how He starts. Allah starts with a very soft and gentle tone. He does not say, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, O ayyuhan nas, O people. He says, Ya ibadi, O my servants. It's very soft and gentle. It's almost like a father speaking to his child. My servants. And then what does He say? Alladhina asrafu ala anfusihim. Those servants who have been excessive against their own selves. Allahu Akbar. What a beautiful way of speaking in a soft way. That means He's not saying, my servants who have sinned, my servants who have transgressed. Although we deserve to be addressed like that because we have sinned, we have transgressed. He doesn't want to use those words. He says, my servants, those who have been excessive against their own selves. Again, it's like a father to a child. It's like saying, oh child, you have harmed yourself. Now, another point. He doesn't say you. When you say you to people and you address them like that, it's like you are confronting them. You want to be a little bit forthcoming with them. He talks to us in the third person. Those who have been excessive against their own selves. He doesn't want to say, you have done this, you have done that. Look how compassionate, look how forgiving He is. Then what does He say? La taqnatu min rahmatillah. Do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba jami'a. Indeed, Allah forgives sins, all of them. Here, again, many linguistic subtle points. He says, Inna Allah. Inna is used for emphasis. Yaghfiru dhunuba. Dhunub is plural of dhanb. It means sins. But when you have alif and lam before the word, before a plural like this, it doesn't mean sins only. It means all sins. So Allah is saying, indeed, with emphasis, Allah forgives all sins. Then what? That would have been enough for us. After that, He says, Jami'a. That means all of them. You know what it's like in English? It's like this. Somebody says, indeed, Allah forgives all sins, all of them. It's like, yeah, I got it first time when you said all sins. But just for extra emphasis, He says, Jami'a, all of them. So that nobody is left in any doubt that the forgiveness of Allah can apply to them as well. Then what? Innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. Again, inna for emphasis, indeed, Allah, He is Al-Ghafur and Ar-Rahim. He could have mentioned any two names. He could have mentioned Alim, Khabir, Qadir. He mentions these two specific names. Ghafur, the all forgiving, and Rahim, the all merciful. This is the verse that Amir al-Mu'mineen describes as being the most comprehensive in the whole of the Quran in terms of its coverage. This is the maghfirah. And of course, like I said, all of these three characteristics apply to us throughout the year, but they apply more in this month of Ramadan. And therefore, how now can we embody this particular characteristic of the spirit of Ramadan? Well, our third and final action point for tonight is to make it a point to forgive someone, to make it a point to ask for forgiveness from someone. We all know at least one or two or a few people that we feel actually we are not on good terms with. We don't have that relationship with them like we used to. Something's gone wrong. Maybe there was an argument. Maybe some words were exchanged. We are not on the same terms that we really should be. Let's bring them to our minds and say that, look, Ramadan has this quality in its spirit of maghfirah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives everyone everything. We have a saying, Man la yarham, la yurham. The one who does not display mercy will not be shown mercy. If we want to be forgiven, all we need to do is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, truthfully, properly, Oh Allah, at this time nearing Maghrib, in this day of Ramadan, you have said in your book that you will forgive all of us for all of our sins. Please forgive us for all of our sins, inshallah. In this way, let's also now approach people who we think, it doesn't matter actually if we were right or wrong. Leave that aside. Now we just want to go to the rest of the month of Ramadan with a clean heart. Sometimes people, they leave it until the night of Qadr. They leave it for the day of Eid. Why? Yes, it's good to ask people for forgiveness on the night of Qadr, on Eid, good. But we don't have to leave it for that time. Why? The earlier we do it, the better. Because then we go throughout the rest of Ramadan with a clean heart. That way we receive more blessings during the rest of this month. Inshallah, as a summary therefore, in this first lecture that I'm at your service during this holy month of Ramadan, we asked ourselves two questions. What is the spirit of Ramadan and how can we embody this spirit? Like I mentioned, the idea behind these lectures will be to put forward both the theory and the practice. So we saw the spirit of Ramadan, as told to us by the Holy Prophet, incorporates three qualities of this month. Barakah, Rahmah, Maghfirah. Therefore, if we want to be the human personification of the spirit of Ramadan, we must also embody and display these three qualities in our character on a daily basis. We saw that the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam were the perfect manifestors and demonstrators of these three qualities. Let's inshallah try our best to follow in their example and also inshallah put these qualities in ourselves so that if somebody was to say, what does Ramadan look like in its human form? Of course, the highest and the best examples are the Ahlul Bayt, but at our own level, at our own limited capacity, we can say, yes, we are the walking, the talking, the living human embodiment of the spirit of Ramadan. Let's pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, give us the tawfiq to manifest these three qualities in our character, inshallah. Oh Allah, enable us to worship you as you deserve, inshallah. Oh Allah, make this not our last Ramadan. Oh Allah, accept all our acts of worship in this holy month. Oh Allah, forgive us and our forefathers for our sins. Oh Allah, enable us to live and die with the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Oh Allah, enable us to embody the teachings of the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Oh Allah, bring relief to all those who are facing difficulty around the world. And our last but not least prayer is that you hasten the appearance of the 12th Holy Imam. Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. Wassalamu alaikum.
नमाज पढ़ो नमाज हाँ
When did you get back?
Around 1 year.